Now we're going to go person to person. Still in or no?
Before we get started, whenever I have people as accomplished as any of you, honestly, I'd love to go back to the beginning and just ask, what was your first job in this business? The first time you could call yourself a writer or director, your first acting job?
My first job, when I was 17, I made a little short film while I was still in high school, and I entered it into this online film. This film festival for an online video game magazine called The Escapist Magazine, and it won the film festival, which then made the sort of prize was if your film wins, that becomes the pilot episode of a web series that we'll pay for. And so I just finished high school, and I was going to go into university to do a computer science degree. To this day, I don't know what that means. But I didn't get into film school. I was like, oh, I'm pretty good at computers. And then I had that, and so I had this sort of 18-month crash course of just, it was like no money. I had to just learn how to, every fortnight I had to kind of write, shoot, edit, direct, just kind of do all this stuff, bring my unemployed friends to kind of like dress up as Mario to do a fucking sketch or something like that. And it just kind of was throwing in the deep end. By the end of it, I just kind of felt confident with like an online audience and watch my stuff, and I just kind of had figured my way through a few kind of technical elements, and yeah, just kind of had that like youthful bravado to keep going.
What was the series called?
We don't need to get into it.
All right, for the actors.
Early on I was doing a lot of short films for the website funnyordie.com. For example, I did one called Go Fuck Yourself, where it starts with me and a girlfriend breaking up, and then she's leaving, she tells me to go fuck myself, and then it cuts to me in a bar picking up another version of myself. And I think you can see where this is going, but basically we're out on the beach, and we're having this very cute day, and we're pushing each other on the swings, it's two of me, and we're flying a kite, and then it hard cuts to me fucking myself so aggressively, where like the top version of me is flexing. I remember sending the first cut to Funny or Die, and like the sex scene was like 45 seconds of it, and they were like, "This is good, but maybe make the sex part like 3 seconds." So yeah, that was early career stuff.
Who was your double? Like if you.
A very kind man named Ramsey. I love you, Ramsey, if you're out there.
All right, Ramsey. Well, my first job, I just was talking about this on Fallon. Apologies if anybody saw that clip. Anyway, well, my first job was this movie, this horror movie, Born. That was like a B horror movie. This was like my first after college. I went to Cal Arts, and then I graduated. I did this crazy audition for this B horror movie where I play this young virgin who gets impregnated by Satan, and she has now this demon fetus inside her that possesses her, and then the demon fetus are like, when she's possessed by the demon fetus, she's like ripping out people's hearts and eating them and stuff like that, and also talking to myself, like, so I would have battles, like very innocent when I was like the main character, and then very evil if the demon fetus was possessing me.
Give us a little taste.
Yes, it's very much like,
This was amazing.
it was just me, truly just me sitting in a chair in one scene being like, please, stop! I'll never stop. And the director was like, we're gonna put like an effect on the voice so that it sounds like a demon. It's gonna sound like really crazy. And when I watched the final movie, no effect. Just me, I'll never stop, mommy. It is insane. It's crazy. Like at the end when my water breaks, it's like green goo. I will say, great preparation for this movie. A lot of big swings.
Yeah, not sweet at all. Well, again, congratulations on a fantastic movie. What is our beginning with Michael? Just to ask, what was sort of the initial idea or spark of the story that came together? Because there's so many ways this could have started, I feel.
Well, it just kind of started simply with the idea of like, what if there were a couple whose lives were so intertwined that they started to literally kind of morph together. That was the very jumping off point from years and years and years ago. And I kind of thought that was kind of silly and didn't engage with it. And then one day I was having drinks like a couple years later with the animator Michael Cusack, who you knows him from Spider Prince fame. And we were just, we were like getting a beer, we have like some connections, and we were just talking about like those ideas that we had that we never kind of worked on. And I I sort of said, I got an idea for this couple of years ago that's like kind of stupid. And he's like, that's not stupid, you should do it. And I was like, okay, I will. And like within like a week, I had written the script. And kind of I'd written, the sort of bones of the script. And then, in my own life, I have been in my relationship now for over 17 years. So finding grist for this mill was sort of simple, and I didn't want to kind of necessarily write something so personal, but there's so much like specificity from my own life in there that just the more I put that into the script, just the more I kind of woke up, the better it got, because it was actually kind of from something that I really understood. And that was sort of where it came from.
What did your partner feel about that?
I was just about to ask the same thing.
Well, yeah, when I told her the idea, she was like, this is upsetting to me that you're writing this. But then she, quickly added, like, oh, that's a good idea, you should do it. And she, credit to Louie, like, she read she's the first person to read every single draft, she was the first person to get notes. I would go into, like, her home office and be like, hey, that argument the other day you called me a piece of shit? Like, what was that again? And just kind of putting that stuff in there. She also, when I told her the idea, she said, oh, they should have a sex team where they stick together. And I was like, that's too gross. And then I was like, oh, no, actually, that's a good idea. So full credit to Louie.
I love that she grossed you out.
I know.
Yeah, that's love.
It's usually the other way around. What do I mean?
And for the actors, when did you first become aware of this project? Was it something like, because this isn't something that lends itself to like a 20-second elevator pitch. I don't know if you read the script or if you heard the idea first, but like, what made you sort of open the script like that?
Yeah, so me and Shanks actually met about a different script that he wrote that I knew I wasn't even right for, but I just loved the quality of his writing, so I was curious to meet him. And then during that meeting, we ended up bonding over horror movies. And he said, I have this script that's been sitting around a long time, I think you might dig it. And he sent it to me, and I was blown away initially by just the horror set pieces, which were so innovative, like nothing I'd ever seen before. And also just really ambitious, where I was like, I don't know how we're gonna pull this off, but like, that's exciting to me. And then he actually sent us a short film they made called Rebooted, which is like the most beautifully crafted short you will ever see, and it really showed off his VFX prowess. He has a background in VFX. And just side note, fun fact, he did 150 VFX shots for this movie himself while he was editing the film. Seeing that short film kind of gave us the confidence going into this, being like, oh, he knows how to do this visually. And then I turned to Alison and I said, I think we should do this because hopefully our real life relationship will lend itself well to these characters on screen. And as they're watching us, hopefully feel this kind of weight and history to the characters.
Yeah, and then I read it and felt the same. And of course, Dave sent me the short, and I watched the short, and I just, I also just really responded to the relationship story and the way that all of the horror set pieces were really fueling the theme and the way that they built upon it, this great build over the course of the movie, and just that, it was this real examination of, fears of monogamy and toxic codependency and all that stuff. And I think I also just felt excited that as actors, we would get to do things that we've never done before on screen. Like, it was just batshit,
And, obviously we wanted to do it together as well because this film, as you've seen, it's very intimate. That final merge scene, that's us standing on set naked for an entire day with our genitals mushed together.
Genitals to genitals.
Yeah, speaking of genitals to genitals, also stuck inside each other, which would have been weird with any other actress, but
not literally.
So it truly was the type of thing though, where every single day, at the end of the day, we would look at each other and say, we could not have made this with anyone else.
Have you thought about casting a real life couple, or were you just, I don't know when you envisioned it, if you thought there was something even possible, but it adds so much to it.
No, not really. I think initially I wasn't really thinking of sort of casting anybody. It was just an idea, and sort of having access to cast was something that I hadn't really kind of thought about. But the moment I met Dave, I was like, I really would love if Dave would read the script and say yes, and it'd be great if he gave it to his wife. So that was, having that meeting, my intention kind of, I guess, was to get this other script and hopefully he'll like it, and luckily he did, and so did she, and to follow on what you guys were saying, we could have done it without a non-married couple, not just because of the intense intimacy, both physically and emotionally, that they have to go to. But it was a low budget shoot. You only had 21 days to shoot the film, so no time for a lot of takes. No time for actors to kind of have to work out chemistry, or the fact that you guys would go home every night together, having access to each other on lines in the car home. It's just like all of this stuff sort of just lubricated the process so beautifully.
I'm actually curious about that. Because I'm not naming names, but sometimes you do see real life couples and they don't have chemistry. Were you at all concerned that would be an issue?
Definitely.
You were? I think there were a couple moments where like, I hope the chemistry works, that would be really embarrassing. Like, how does a relationship survive that? Doesn't always. Geely.
Jesus Christ.
We said not naming names. I'm just spouting poetry. I'm just like scatting over here. I'm not saying like real things.
Keep going.
What was the question? Why am I
Let's hear
still
the rest of this
talking?
poem.
You've worked together before, and I think either of you could have chemistry with anyone, but still, there's always that moment, especially in something where it's so reliant on it in this film.
Yeah, this is our fifth collaboration, and I really do think we needed the other four to kind of ramp up into this one. I don't think we could have pulled the Band-Aid and just done it together. It was, as Shanks was saying, like, because it was such a short shoot, we really only had 1 or 2 takes per setup, and it was imperative that it was with her because we just feel so comfortable with one another. And when you feel at ease on set, you know, and this is an obvious statement, but you just feel more liberated to take risks and to just try weird stuff, and that's when the best stuff comes.
Yeah, I think it also, like, I know that I'm always a better actor when I'm working with Dave. Dave has directed me in 2 films, and I feel like through those projects especially, we developed such a shorthand with each other, like truly unspoken, which was so helpful in terms of our timeline on this and troubleshooting things in the moment. By the time Shanks walked us out, we were like, we figured it out. But yeah, I think also just that the two of us bring out a really honest performances out of each other because we know each other so well. It just feels, it's like, without having to say it, if it feels false, it feels false to us.
Yeah.
That didn't even ever really happen because it was like there was no time.
Yeah, but it was, you know, the 1 or 2 takes per setup, like, it would get dicey where I think about the scene at the train station where I'm having a panic attack, and that was, you know, that's one of those scenes that you look ahead to and you're like, okay, that's gonna be an intense day, but it'll be alright. And we get to that scene, it's the end of the day, and Shanks comes up to me and he says, I'm sorry, but I think we have one go at this. And him telling me that made me have a panic attack, and I was like, roll the fucking cameras, let's go. But meanwhile...
I mean, also, 5 minutes before that, this is like, you know, we're producers on this project as well, so I actually think this aided the acting by having us not get too, like, stuck in performance or taking anything too seriously, is that we were constantly putting on our producer hats or whatever and switching back and forth, and like 5 minutes before Davey's 1 take, you know, we're stepping 50 feet away to get on the phone with people, learning that we might be losing a location for the last night of our shoot, and you know, we're pleading with people, how can we figure this out, how can we troubleshoot this? They're writing on set, okay, great, Dave, you have 1 take, action. Like, so really, but it was kind of freeing. I mean, I can't speak to Dave's panic attack, but I did find the schedule of it very freeing acting-wise. Just, yeah, it's like so much of what you're seeing in performance is instinct and chemistry, and that side of it was exhilarating.
I would say, like, and I obviously don't have the experience of working on as many projects as you guys, obviously, but there was something about this, I mean this in the best way, that felt a bit like a big student film, whereby it was just kind of all hands on deck. You would have, we needed to kind of move some lights for a setup, you might turn over and see you two lifting a light up, like we were all kind of like, we were also, and the crew included, were just so kind of into it, and within a couple of days, we're so excited about what we were doing because it was like fun and electric, and like the vibes on set for these two were like so positive that yeah, it was exhausting, but yeah, exhilarating.
I'm actually always curious about that with independent films because sometimes you can't can't do things maybe you originally imagined, you know, necessity is the mother of all invention. You have to come up with an alternate way. I'm curious if there's anything that you did that ended up working better.
Yeah, definitely. There was, I love the scene where you're investigating the hiker picture, my little cameo, by the way, and Alison, you run into the door, and it's like a big scare, and it's that, like, that was originally a different scene, which took place outside at the front of the house, but that would have necessitated us doing a night shoot outside. You can't really fake night well outside. And so it was kind of quite late, and I was like, Shanks, you gotta rewrite this whole scene to take place inside. I was adamant I wasn't gonna like work. I was so in love with what took place out front in the dark. And it was just kind of coming up with this idea of the sort of frosted glass. And the other scene was sort of ultimately related with Dave running inside and you were on the other side of the house, kind of beating against the door. So it's kind of like a similar vibe.
Yeah.
But just it became this kind of much sort of ghostly a thing. And I was thinking a lot of Pulse, aka Kairu, the Japanese horror movie, with that kind of like weird dancing, like ghost scene. And it's you know, never be like calling that incredible scene, but I was just thinking about this kind of female form, almost in this sort of balletic movement, and how that can be kind of unnerving.
That's really me slamming into that glass.
Oh, yeah.
Had a little bruise on my nose for the rest of the shoot.
So some performer did like 6-7 takes, and I also just said, she's not going hard enough. Give me a go. Nuts.
Forgetting about how sound ends up doing most of the heavy lifting in post. But you know, gotta get in there.
Actually, it's really interesting to give Dave a panic attack before it's.
Oh yeah, you know too.
So method.
Yeah.
Actually, one thing that I am sort of embarrassed by, that I'm sure is still on your phone probably, is that I used to have panic attacks all the time, like chronically. And so when we were kind of doing setup for this, Dave was like, can you show me how you have panic attacks? I'm trying to so you just have videos on your phone of me. God. Just going around the room being like,
Right now, we're gonna gear it up.
Does that mean you've never had a panic attack?
Oh, I have. I had a panic attack when Allison threw me a surprise party.
We don't need to get into when he's had specific panic attacks caused by.
It's a 20-minute story.
Let's talk about Genie again.
I am curious, because it sounds like, you know, it was a fun atmosphere despite working really hard, but what did end up being the most challenging scene for either of you, either from, you know, an emotional or just a logistical point of view?
I got a couple. The shoot was very, very physical, where pretty much every single day we were getting pretty beat up, and I would come home, and Allison would document my injuries, and we have a nice little collage that we made of all my bruises over my whole body. But like the scenes that stand out are the shower scene. You know, that's me fully nude. My character's unconscious, and I am flinging my limp body against these very hard surfaces. And because I'm unconscious, I can't brace myself. So that's just me throwing my face as hard as I can into a porcelain wall. That fucking hurts. But every single day, like, even though we were getting hurt, it was like we were so excited, and we were just looking at each other, and it just felt like we were like, I can't believe they're letting us do this. And so our excitement just kind of superseded any pain we were feeling.
Yeah, you know, a scene, I mean, my favorite scene in the movie is the bathroom scene. It was my favorite scene in the script. And that was a day that was sort of unexpectedly more difficult. I just think we were more mentally prepared for some of the driveway scene and the hallway scene, and knowing we were going to be flailing around doing all this stuff. And for some reason, you know, shooting that scene in the bathroom, it ended up taking a lot longer than we expected. And I think it was just like this threading of a needle, and playing so much tension, and you know, Dave's fake sweat, and how he had all this like glycerin on his face for makeup, and he was smashing it into my face, and I'd be like, honey, could you do it less? And he was like, no, I gotta like feel where I'm going. It's a character.
I hate that impression of me.
It's not a good impression. You're like, babe, I'm so sorry, I won't do it again, and then we like get in there, and inevitably you do have to just go with it. But it was very a satisfying scene. It's an anticlimactic story, because I wasn't like, this is so hard. But It was a day that I left more exhausted than I expected.
Sure.
My favorite memory of that day is we had a little kid actor in that scene, obviously, and we kept him extremely separated from any of the Nazi stuff, so we had no idea what was going on. It was never in the same room as that. But there's this great footage of after we hadn't, like, we'd cut, but the camera hadn't cut yet, and I said, "Hey man, great job," and the kid dabbed.
No idea what movie he's in.
He's just having a good time.
I want to see a whole movie just about that kid and
How much did he hear? What does he know?
Speaking of, if any of the couples are having trouble tonight, I hear you're offering free therapy. That's great.
Yeah.
Take a picture of your ticket stub. No,
Yeah.
you speak. You know more about it than me.
Go for it.
Take a picture of your ticket stub.
Continue.
And then, stuff.
Go to Neon Socials. They'll have all the info about this. But if you upload a picture of your ticket stub this weekend, you get free couples therapy. So that's
Assuming terms and conditions apply, but
how many? Just show of hands. How many single people here think that this is a very strong argument for staying single? There you go.
Before we go, I just want to ask if everyone can stay seated because we actually have to get to another one of these. But I do want to remind everyone that this movie is in theaters now. Please spread the word. It's such a special film. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you guys.